you might not beat the ride, but you're gonna beat the rap.
Yeah.
I think that's my ultimate takeaway on this. We are the Armed Attorneys. Today we're talking about the newest updates in the California Assault Weapons Ban Challenge, Miller versus Bonta. Before we get into those updates, we're going to talk about a new sponsor of the show who actually has a product. It's Cali Key that might help people in assault weapons ban states until, hopefully, knock on wood, all these assault weapons bans are overturned. But before we get started, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting the like button. And today's episode, in addition to Cali Key, is, as always, brought to you by our friends at Sonoran Desert Institute. Check them out at www.sdi.edu/armed-attorneys.
So full disclosure on this episode, it is sponsored by Cali Key, a company we're going to be talking about, and a product that they sent us. I will say, though, they really rolled the dice on us because we made no guarantees about if we would give them a positive or negative or neutral review.
Yeah.
They said, hey, we have a
Buckle
solution.
up, Cali Key.
Yeah, they said, we have a solution. We said, we'll see about that. And they sent it to us. But, thankfully we have good news to report. But before we kind of go any further, what are we talking about?
Virtually every state has the same model assault weapons ban, right? I mean, they vary. They're a little bit different. But if you go state by state to those who have assault weapons bans, they're pretty similar. And essentially, when it comes to rifles, right, because they all do, well, these are your assault rifles, these are your assault pistols, these are your assault shotguns. We're going to talk about assault rifles in particular because we've got a case addressing this and because that is what the Cali Key is doing. So you've got your semi-automatic rifle plus a whole list of qualifiers that makes it an assault rifle. It's basically anything.
Yeah, usually they'll say with a detachable magazine or, with a pistol grip or with a foregrip or with telescoping stock. I mean, Everything.
If it is an AR platform rifle, it is an assault rifle. I mean, that's just how these laws generally break down. And so, of course, we've got a case challenging this under Bruin. But what Cali Key has done, and I will say, we spoke to the owner, and he does seem like a really genuinely nice human.
Yeah.
Who kind of does want to put himself out of business. Like, they've donated a lot to the group bringing this California lawsuit, which it's like, sure. I mean, that's like, you genuinely want to see gun control dismantled. I like you as a person. So you won me over.
But they asked to sponsor an episode if we'd review the Cali Key. I'm going to go through it real fast. Essentially.
Oh, we did tell them though.
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Oh, disclaimer. Yeah, they said, we told them, hey, like, we'll look at whatever as like, if you want to sponsor the episode. But if this thing sucks or if we think it doesn't comply with the law, we're totally going to
say it.
We're going to say it.
So he really rolled the dice with us.
Yeah, but I'm pleased to say we think that there is something here, and we do think that this is very innovative. So I guess you
know what it is.
You rolled well?
You rolled well.
So essentially what it does is you have your bolt carrier group key or gas key typically at the top of your bolt carrier group. Typically there's like a little tube here that accepts gas from your AR platform, and that helps drive the bolt carrier group and make it a semi-automatic firearm. What the Cali Key does is it doesn't have the ability to accept gas to make the firearm semi-automatic.
No, right. It's expelling it out the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that in conjunction with a different charging handle, effectively it transforms an AR platform rifle into a bolt action rifle. And so that's the innovative part around it and why it probably complies with or makes your firearm compliant with a ton of these assault weapon bans. I hate calling it that. They're calling it that in their law, so we got to call it that.
Yes, for everyone who's like, it's not an assault weapon. We know, but that's what the laws are called.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, essentially what they're doing with the Cali Key, which is it's very interesting to me, is they're just taking, because it all starts with semi-automatic, right? Semi-automatic.
Yeah, let's look at like the California Penal Code here. I mean, if we look at their California Penal Code 3515, this is their assault weapons ban. We look at each subsection here that basically puts restrictions on this, and a semi-automatic centerfire rifle, a semi-automatic semi-fire rifle, a semi-automatic semi-fire rifle.
We're just saying
you're taking the semi-automatic out of it.
Right. A bolt action rifle cannot be an assault weapon. That's the idea behind this.
Yep. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, it makes sense to me. I will say, I'm troubled.
Let's
and
hear
I think this is wonderful. And again, this is, he gave us full discretion. I do think this is great. I'm troubled by, I guess, two things. One being law enforcement is not going to investigate on the side of the road to see.
Yeah, that's it. That stinks.
So you may find yourself arrested for violating the assault weapons law
Mm-hmm.
and then have to prove in court, look at what I did to it. Look at the modification. Second trouble would be, in my mind, that you have really aggressive prosecutors being like, well, it's readily convertible to a semi-automatic, and that makes it semi-automatic. So that sort of argument, I don't know that it's a winner,
No,
but it's
and
something for them to drive forward
if they
with.
wanted to ban firearms that are readily convertible, I think we'd see that inserted in their statutes. We do that
You'd
all
think.
that. Yeah, we do that all the time. We don't see that in California, Illinois, New
Yeah.
York. They all say, a semi-automatic.
Semi-automatic.
So
It's not a huge trouble, but it's
no,
something. It's
I
something
see
to
a
think about.
shisty prosecutor doing that though. The nice thing I'll say about it is a drop-in solution. You got a mil-spec AR platform. It's going to convert it into a bolt-action rifle. The other thing that I thought about, because this comes up every now and then with clients who are moving out of the state of Texas, that's who the folks I deal with most of the time. Typically, a job is taking them somewhere hostile. Think Washington, California, Illinois, New York, New Jersey. And they say, I got this gun collection. What do I do with it? And a lot of times I'm like, look, man, you are so stuck.
Sorry. Yeah.
This might be an avenue or a solution for them. So, something to look
Right.
at.
You might not beat the ride, but you're gonna beat the rap.
Yeah.
I think that's my ultimate takeaway on this. Plus, nice guy, seems to genuinely love guns and run a good business. So, it's nice to support that kind of human.
Yeah.
But let's talk about why this may be necessary for the next couple of years while litigation plays out, but question mark to the future of assault weapons bans. So that's Miller versus Bonta.
Yeah. So this is litigating the California assault weapons ban. And I mean, not to bury the lead, Judge Benitez found the statute violated the Second Amendment as an unconstitutional restraint, and the government could not justify its position based on the text and history of the Second Amendment. But the California government is not going to let it stand.
No. So here's what's happening here. And this is why potentially this is still your necessity, is that the state of California has filed an emergency motion for stay with the appellate court, basically saying, hey, I know the judge said this was unconstitutional, but while the litigation proceeds forward, which we all know will be years in the future, you cannot just snap your fingers and make assault weapons legal in California. You're going to ruin the whole darn state. Like, ship sailed on that one. But it's actually like I read their brief in great detail because I really enjoyed it. Opposition briefing is, I think, often enjoyable because,
you get to talk smack.
Well, sure. Well, you can see how the brains work. And basically they're saying like Judge Benitez didn't know what he was doing. He didn't apply Bruin right because he wouldn't consider anything after 1868. And also he wouldn't consider any carry laws because it's not a carry law. It's a possession law.
Right.
So like, I think he did a great job applying Bruin, but they were like, had all these nitpicky things why he didn't apply Bruin correctly. But then also, as the anti-gun crowd tends to do, there's all these emotional sort of like, but the scaries. And their brief read like an advertisement for rifles.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like these, what was that one I sent to you? Dangerous tactical enhancements. And I was like, ooh, tell me more. These dangerous tactical enhancements. And it was talking about how like,
hold on, I gotta read it. Gun owners will remain able to purchase and possess a wide range of firearms for self-defense and other lawful purposes, including featureless AR platform semi-automatic rifles that are not prohibited because they do not contain dangerous tactical enhancements that qualify the firearm as an assault weapon.
Yes, that's you can still, they're saying you can buy other stuff, just not your dangerous tactical enhancements. I was like, but I want those.
Yeah.
But the whole brief, every time they tried to scare the judges, I mean, it might scare those judges, but for me, it was like, well, these are so much more lethal. And these rifles are, there was the foregrip and the barrel shroud, and it just all makes it so much more accurate. And it was just like,
what are you talking about?
Don't threaten me with a good time. Like that's, I want that. I want that gun, right? Like you're telling me.
Shoot accurately.
Right. You're telling me like it's more accurate. And if I need it to actually like hurt someone because they're threatening me, I'm probably going to have a better chance at saving my own life and hurting that person. Like, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah.
Sell me one. I want one. But hilarious. Of course, that this assault weapons have been banned for 30 years in California, the brief says, and they're all going to flood into the state. And it's just going to be horrific. I'm sure. I mean, look at the population of California and look at the population of Texas and look at the number of people shot in California versus the number in Texas. And California actually beats us every time.
Yeah.
So be more like Texas. I
Yeah.
think more guns equals better outcomes, but that's just
Yeah.
me.
Something else that was briefed by the judge, obviously we hear about tragedies, but I think he does a good job to point out defensive gun uses. CDC says 500,000 to 3 million. He lists another figure that says it's probably closer to 1.5 million.
Mhm.
But you don't see of that 1.5 million stories on headlines or
No,
people who are saving their lives, or you don't hear about when a mass shooting doesn't happen because it was stopped by a hero. And so I think it goes both ways.
of course it does. So we will see what the appellate court does with that. My guess is they are in fact going, and we actually have with their deadline is the 29th to
Yeah.
stay it,
So
I
we'll know
believe.
very soon.
We'll know very soon whether or not they're going to stay it. I very much believe they're going to stay it. This is going to play out over the course of the next several years. Also, bear in mind, many, many courts have upheld assault weapons bans recently. We have all sorts of, I mean, generally godless, freedomless states saying that we cannot possess, the firearms that we care to possess and we want to defend our families with. It is something that will be litigated all the way up to the Supreme Court. It will take years. I do believe that Bruin will do what Bruin does and that we will eventually not have these sort of bans anymore. But again, it's many, many years in the future.
Thanks to Callie Key, you really rolled the dice. Do think it's a genuinely good product, and they're huge supporters of the Second Amendment. And that was one of the concerns was like, oh, you sell neutering parts for a gun. How can you support the second? I promise you,
Yeah.
it is a pro two organization with good intentions, and maybe keeping gun owners on the right side of the law while this stuff gets litigated. But we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And always question and comment for us below. And until next time, we're the armed deterrents.
I talked to a couple of clients a year who are moving out of the state of Texas for a job. God dang.
Bow, 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 bow.
Oh, were you
Oh, it
talking to
doesn't.
me?